Welcome everyone, it's time for Talk of the Town. We're going to be joined by a couple of our news partners today. We'll be talking with Medicine Shop Pharmacy in Monona and also the South Central Library System. Finally, we'll be joined today by our friends from Swiftwaters TV. But first, we've got our news partner, Steve Benchwall from Wisconsin Business World. Welcome, great to see you again.
Good to see you too. Thanks for having me.
Always good to have you on. I'm super excited to talk about this topic today. But first, let's give everybody a quick reminder, what's Business World?
Yeah, so Business World's a program for high school kids, and I travel all around Wisconsin. I work with about 2,000 high school kids every single year.
Very impressive.
And what's fun now is I'm starting to see the business community, a lot of our business sponsors even, reach out and want to know a lot about that next generation. A lot of those kids are starting to be their youngest employees now, and they're really trying to figure out how to best manage and motivate this new generation.
Absolutely, because all of your Business World students, they're part of the millennial generation. So you and I were kind of talking about it a little bit before we were on air, but let's give everybody some background on what makes the millennial generation so different in the workforce.
Sure, so the millennials, and maybe the viewers have heard that word being thrown around a lot, it's kind of in the news lately. So these are the kids from the 80s and 90s that grew up with technology, very digital, very connected, and they think about the world, they see things in a much different way than other generations, and it started to kind of create some conflict in the workplace because we all kind of see the world differently and go about our work in new ways.
Absolutely, and hopefully that conflict can kind of be channeled into a good positive thing with a work environment with a lot of different perspectives, and we need to learn how to get there, so people are beginning to come to you to ask for that advice.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the common millennial stereotypes or the conflicts that you do see in the workplace.
Sure, so some of the stereotypes that you'll kind of hear, and they're not always the most positive things, right? A lot of the times you'll hear that millennials are maybe spoiled or kind of entitled. And I think that that stereotype comes from how we were raised. And the way that we were raised is a lot different than other generations compared to, say, our grandparents' generation.
Certainly.
So one of the things that we see in the millennials as kids is they had a lot of structure and a lot of support. So we had parents, teachers, coaches that
Very
played
involved
a
with us.
huge part of our life. And we're always there for us, kind of coaching us along and looking over our shoulder, telling us, you're doing great, keep it up. So when we come into the workplace now as millennials, we kind of expect that to continue. We don't think that that's
all
going
that
to
positive
change.
feedback and encouragement.
So corporate America will kind of say, well, these darn millennials, they need constant feedback, and we're not used to that. We're not used to that level of having to give you that much immediate response. But as a millennial, we're used to that. We're used to that. So on the corporate side, we try to encourage them to meet them halfway. That a lot of feedback's a good thing. Kind of makes you sure that I'm going in the right direction with this project.
Absolutely, and of course, make sure that their managers, their supervisors, that way they are giving feedback and they're able to ensure that the work that the millennials producing is right on track with what they want. So there can be some positive outcomes potentially from this.
Yep.
One of the other stereotypes that I've heard a bit is the job hopper stereotype. Maybe that they're not staying with one employer for a long time.
Sure. So that one is really neat, and there's some truth to it. Millennials do tend to move around. They have more mobility than other generations. One of the neat things, if you really look at that, is if we think about 20 or 30 years ago, so maybe look back to, again, our parents or our grandparents' generation. By the time you were 30 years old, you were probably married if you wanted to. You probably had kids, and you probably had a house, a mortgage. So those are three things that really make you put roots down in your community.
You get very settled, very solidified.
And if you all of a sudden wanted to move now, your spouse has to leave his or her job. You got to pull your kids out of school from their friends. You got to find a new place to live. You got to sell your house. But if you're a millennial, if you're a millennial, you don't have any of those concerns. Moving to San Francisco sounds fun.
Yeah.
Moving down to
Chicago.
Chicago.
Exciting new adventure.
Sleep on my friend's couch till I find a job. You bet. So very different life stages.
Yeah.
Kind of a delayed adulthood.
The timeline for life has really changed. From millennials. To when their parents and their grandparents. I remember my grandmother telling me that by 23, people were calling her an old maid because she wasn't married. And I'm like, well, so it's a very different world. And things are happening at a totally different rate. And obviously it makes sense that that's going to affect, the workplace.
Yep.
So let's talk quick before we go about how a company can best attract and then keep those millennials happy and keep them working and at that same company.
Yeah. So really quickly, there's nothing you can do to get around the fact that millennials might move around. The mobility isn't going to go away because of those roots that we talked about earlier.
Just kind of a fact of life
haven't
there.
put those down. But what you can do is create an environment where those millennials feel like they're thriving. We talked about the coaching and the support that millennials are used to. So as a young person, if I'm working somewhere and I feel like I've got a mentor that I can go to, I feel like I'm kind of growing professionally. I can go to that person for whatever I need, and I'm in a place where I'm supported and I feel like I'm valued and contributing. You know, you don't need to put a ribbon about me up on the wall, but making me feel like I'm important here and I'm a valuable member of the team, you're way more likely to keep those millennials for longer than you ordinarily would have.
I love that, and it sounds like, you know, millennials, they like mobility, but it's possible that they can get that kind of forward mobility in their same company as long as they feel like they're thriving and growing and moving forward within that same organization.
Absolutely.
I think that's a really good tie-in and a very important thing for business owners to remember. So this is a great topic. I'm really glad we were able to touch on this today, Steve.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Once again, we've got Steve Benchwell from Wisconsin Business World, and we'll be right back with more Talk of the Town, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Talk of the Town. We have one of our news partners with us now, Eric Hewitt from the Medicine Shop Pharmacy in Monona. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We've got a great topic coming up today, just kind of talking about the differences and the advantages of an independent pharmacy versus a chain pharmacy. So let's start with just an overview of what it means to be an independent versus a chain.
You know, I think, you know, like I said, I'm going to be biased, you know, because I'm an independent owner myself. But I think it's really all about the customer service that you're going to get. I think that independents, and especially us at the Medicine Shop, we really try and get to know our customers on a personal level and really spend the time to get to know them and their medications and operate from a business model that has the patient at the center, where, you know, chain pharmacies are probably going to have more corporate pressures on them on how they're going to structure their day and what they need to get done and that kind of thing.
So they're going to have that more corporate-centric approach, and yours is more patient-centric, which can be enormously helpful to everybody that stops in there. So that's awesome. Yeah. Very good to know. Now, I'm sure that there's a little bit of a cost differentiation in prescriptions or over-the-counter, you know, products between an independent and a chain. So can you tell me how those compare?
I think a lot of people have that, you know, that idea in their head.
Thought there.
And for the vast majority of them, and now there's some different changes with these Medicare Part D plans, I think that we talked about last month, and having preferred networks and preferred pharmacies. But for the vast majority of people, their insurance companies set the copay. And for a lot of people, it's going to be the same whether you go to these chain pharmacies or you come to the independent pharmacies. So a lot of times it's not going to be any more in terms of cost. So which is great, because then you can make your decision based on service as opposed to cost.
Certainly, and that is definitely, I think, an important myth to kind of bust there, because just like I thought it, I'm sure a lot of other folks do, so it's really important that they know, hey, your insurance company is kind of usually setting these prices versus the pharmacy, so you're able to decide what works best for you as a patient, where you feel like you have the strongest relationship.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Now, along with that same kind of line of thought with insurance, can they decide or determine which pharmacies you can go to?
Sometimes they do, and that's where the preferred networks come in that I mentioned. Also, there's certain insurance companies out there that force you to go mail order. So you can't even use a local retail pharmacy.
Oh, sure.
And that's, again, all set by the insurance companies. That's not something I can dictate. I can't match prices from a mail order company or anything like that. That's all set by the insurance company, and we have to kind of abide by their rules. And there are a few plans like that out there in the Madison area.
So are you able to match copay prices there then?
Unfortunately not, and that's where that comes in. The insurance company sets that. If I alter the copay, if I say, you know, I'd really like you to come see me, I know the copay is $10, but I tell you what, if you come see me, the first copay is going to be $5. That's actually insurance fraud. You can't do that. So you can't discount copays, you can't match copays if it's going through an insurance.
So there are some insurance constraints to be working within, and maybe if you do have a preferred pharmacy, you want to make sure that you also have insurance that kind of aligns with that and lets you go where best suits your needs.
Absolutely.
So that's definitely a good thing to think about. Now, if you want to figure out like whether your insurance does cover the pharmacy that you want to go to, where can you get that information?
The best way to get that information is call the insurance company directly. A lot of times on the back of your insurance card, there'll be a customer service number, and I think that's a great place to start. If you're struggling with that, have issues with that, you can always go to the pharmacy that you're wanting to go to. Bring it in to me, and I can call the insurance company on your behalf to make sure we're a participating provider. Or being an independent owner and being involved in all that kind of stuff, a lot of times I can tell you up front, yes, absolutely, we accept your insurance.
Absolutely. I'm sure there's a lot that you typically see coming in the door. You know they work well, and you know they work with you. So that's really nice that you can be a resource for your customers, as well as that they can just contact their insurance company outright and say, hey, is this going to work for me? But I mean, it's just a little bit of research. They may be able to find out that they have all these options that they weren't aware of before, as far as where they can go to get their prescriptions.
Absolutely. And they can realize that, maybe sometimes it's not more convenient to go to these chains. It may be more convenient to go to your local independent pharmacy and also be treated, the way you want to be
Yeah,
treated.
absolutely. Have someone that
get your
knows you
prescriptions.
and knows your prescriptions too, which can be enormously helpful, especially if you're working with more than one prescription at a time.
Absolutely.
Well, very cool. This was, again, a great topic. Thank you again for coming in, Eric.
Thanks
This
for
is
having me.
Eric Hewitt, our news partner from the Medicine Shop Pharmacy in Monona. We'll be right back with more Talk of the Town. Welcome back. We're here with more Talk of the Town. We're going to be talking with one of our news partners now, the South Central Library System, specifically about their delivery service. And I have Corey Baumann here to talk with me about that today. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you on, and I'm excited to learn more about this. So let's first give a little bit of an overview. What is delivery like for the South Central Library System?
Delivery for South Central Library System is our familiar red trucks and vans that you might see out in Madison.
Yeah, definitely.
Highways and roads. We go about 350,000 miles through our 7-county system, delivering our 12 million materials every year.
12 million materials delivered.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
We also partner with the University of Wisconsin system. We have a number of customers with private colleges, technical colleges, correctional institutions, and other customers.
Sure, to kind of help them make sure that they have access to these resources as well and these materials.
The idea is for us to share a much greater collection of materials across
Absolutely.
many
'Cause
libraries.
Not everybody has, the same access that a university might or a larger library in the Madison area. So that's awesome that you're kind of spreading that out amongst
Correct.
everybody in your 7
We are the
counties.
conduit for that.
That is
yes.
a very, very important job, I think. All of this information is so important to be able to access from everybody. So
It is.
Very, very cool. So Corey, this is a big operation. So how is something like this funded?
This is funded by a few ways. First, our fees to our member libraries by way of their counties,
And that's just included right in there.
right within where they reside, so they'll fund us through those fees. We will also collect fees, not fees, but we're funded by way of state aid
Sure,
to
sure.
library systems, which we will help offset some of those costs for those members.
Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. And now, of course, books, that's going to be the most obvious thing that you guys are transporting, but there's other materials as well. So can you tell me what those are?
Yes, basically it's anything and everything that can be lent at a
Wow.
library. Primarily, though, some of the things people might be most interested in are Blu-ray movies, DVDs, CDs, audiobooks, graphic novels, magazines,
Oh, yeah.
anything.
So any type of media, essentially, you guys are able to transport it from
Correct.
place to place within your 7-county
That's
radius.
right, we do it all.
Very cool, very cool. So if you're thinking about, you want an item, but it's at another library or it's not accessible in your county, how do you go about getting that through the delivery service?
That too, you can go about it a number of different ways. You can go to your home library and access by way, with some help perhaps from library staff, but a kiosk at the library will get you to LinkCat, and you can log in that way through your library
So you
card.
can go in, see what's available, log in,
Right.
put in your info, and request it.
Yes, that's correct. But also, of course, you can, in this day and age, you can do that by way of your home computer. You can log into LinkCat from home, and also through smartphone apps.
So can you get these materials delivered to your home directly? Or is it to your library in your county?
At the end of the process, it'll come to your home library.
Okay, perfect.
Correct.
So whichever library is closest to you, you can just request it to be
Yes,
sent
you'll
over there.
designate that. It'll know where you live, and it'll go to that library, yes.
Awesome. So what about non-libraries? Are they ever able to use your services as well?
We do have a service called Link Express. This is a service where perhaps a business or a school would like to have library materials on a more regular basis to a dedicated address.
Absolutely.
And we can handle that service through our website at sclsdelivery.info.
So if they reach out and they've got a need, you guys are able to kind of help them out in that way. A
Yes.
school, a business.
Correct.
That's nice that you're able to help so many different folks because obviously this is a great service and it's nice that everyone can utilize it, in a different way.
Right. We also have, through the Madison Public Library and the Dane County Library Service, we provide the connection for their outreach and homebound customers as well, which is a service that goes direct
sure.
to places like retirement homes, apartment communities, schools, daycares.
Folks
We
that
make
might
that
have,
connection.
might not be able to get to the library.
Less
or-
access directly to the library, yes.
That is a great feature. So last but not least, I just want to really quick ask you, how can people at home carry out the mission of the South Central Library System delivery?
How can people carry out the mission? We carry out the mission. This is our folks that work for us. We've got 24 staff members that drive for us,
You have
making that
24
connection.
staff members on your team driving and making these deliveries.
Correct. They have a collective 175 years of experience on the road.
Wow.
And they drive 700,000 miles a year carrying out this mission, along with our support staff.
And like we said before, this is just such important information for everyone to be able to have access to. So it's really fabulous that you have such a great, strong team working for you guys.
We're very proud to provide that service, yes.
That's perfect. So once again, we've got Corey Baumann here from the South Central Library System talking about the South Central Library System delivery service. Thanks again for coming on the program today. It was great learning more.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and we'll be right back with more Talk of the Town. Welcome back to Talk of the Town. We're joined now by our friends from Swiftwaters TV, a program that we're airing right here on the CW. This is Connie Markham and Sean Gibbons. Welcome to the program.
Hello, thank you for having us.
Great to talk to you two again. So let's start by giving all of our viewers an overview of what is Swiftwaters.
Well, we do a duck hunting show. We term ourselves as a year-round duck hunter, primarily because there is a season for duck hunting. It's about 60 days long, and we're currently in that season. But outside of that, for the rest of the year, we enjoy just being outdoors, and we per se scout for new locations. So for our aspect, it's all about being in the outdoors, trying to find out what the surroundings are and what may be potential, the adventure for the next hunt in the upcoming year, and then bringing out new people.
So even when you're not hunting for ducks, you're hunting for new locations,
Exactly.
and ideas, and new content. So
Yep.
I love that. You guys always have something to do and adventure with all year round.
Yes.
Now, I know that dogs are a big component of the hunt. So can you tell me a little bit about maybe where locally you could get your dogs trained and why this is so important to the hunt?
Sure. I mean, dogs are important to the hunt because it tells you, where you can potentially shoot a duck, if you have a dog
Absolutely.
to retrieve it. So there's two locations locally. You got wind dog retrievers. Rick does a great job over there. And then you have crosswind retrievers, and Bruce is excellent. They're both excellent places locally to train dogs. One is over on the
Awesome.
west side of town, and one is a little bit south of town.
So there's multiple options.
Yep, multiple options. They do great with training dogs.
And keep in mind that bringing a dog onto the hunt itself is a whole nother aspect of the hunt.
Sure.
Not only looking at how do you retrieve the birds when you get them down, but just how you're working and handling the dogs themselves. So getting them under control, having them work with hand signals, having them retrieve birds. These guys are experts at it. They can help people kind of walk through even little tips and tricks on how to improve existing dogs. So
That's awesome, and this
Yeah.
is definitely a new level to training than what you might do in a typical dog training course.
Right.
So
Correct.
very, very important to do. Now, I want to talk a little bit as well about the Cedar Hill Game Farm. I've heard that's a really good place to hunt in the area, so can you tell me more about that place?
Yeah, it takes a little different twist. It's up by Beaver Dam. Doug does a great job. He positions his facility more of an outdoors, realistic hunt. It's primarily for pheasants. You can go up there, and he's got a 40-acre farm, and he can position different stages to challenge your dogs as well. So
sure.
he's an excellent quasi or semi-pro trainer, but he'll work with you and your dogs and teach you how to bring them to the next level. And he's got different courses per se of difficulty that he can kind of help walk your dog through those. So
Oh, awesome.
it's a really
That
it's
is
a really
really
neat program
cool
to be able to.
Facility up there. Yep.
Yeah.
He's got a great operation.
I
Yep.
love that. And so not only can it help you improve your hunting, but
Right.
help your dogs too. So all around a great opportunity. And I like that you said very realistic and true to life too, because that's so important that wherever you're training is easily, those skills are going to translate right over to your real,
or the
your,
field
Right.
itself.
your other hunts. So very, very cool. Now you guys said we're in kind of right in the middle of duck hunting season right now. So where are you guys hunting?
Well, we just came back from North Dakota.
Did
It was
you?
our
Yep.
second trip out there. It's always a
fun.
fantastic trip to go out there. It's called
Yeah.
the Prairie Potholes. So the birds are plentiful. We had a great trip. There
We
were a
had a-
set of 4 people that went
Yep.
out with us,
How fun.
the team, and we had. The water levels are a little down, so the birds were a little sparse. We had to work for them, but that's all part of the adventure.
You go
Yeah.
scouting, find them,
Always
get
different.
permission
Yep.
on the land access, and go out and have a good time.
Yep.
We struggled some 40-mile-an-hour winds one day. That
Oh yeah,
You guys
almost
sound
blew,
like you're up
almost
for the
blew her
challenge
over.
though, huh?
Yeah, yep, standing in waist deep of water and almost blew her over at one
Oh
point.
my gosh, you
Yeah.
are a real champ.
She is. And
But
we're-
you guys are dedicated to the hunt.
Yep,
and
we
you
enjoy
like,
it.
I think you seem like you like the adventure and the dynamic nature of it. You never quite know what you're going to face,
No.
whether it's going to be
That's what we
40.
look for, yeah. So we're here for the rest of this month locally in Wisconsin. We're going up north of Green Bay this weekend, and then we'll
cool.
be going over the Mississippi River, and then kind of central areas.
You
So-
guys are always on the move. I
Yeah.
We
like
are.
that. Always have new, fun, and exciting stories. So last but not least, with the cold weather coming, how does that kind of affect the migration of ducks and, of course, your potential for hunting?
Yeah, that's,
Well.
we're looking forward to it. It's too warm
It's
right
still,
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's
still,
too
I mean,
warm. It's gonna be 70
every day
Yeah,
today,
Yeah,
it's
we
so-
need
crazy.
the cold Arctic weather to come down to push
Yeah.
those birds further
Yeah.
on south.
So we're in that fly zone in Canada. We become, amateur meteorologists. So we're watching the weather in Canada for the next 10 days. It's supposed to be as what we have here. They won't push. So we're looking for cold weather, snow cover, ice, something to push the
They need to get those
migration down.
signals.
Yeah.
It's time to move down,
Right.
time to migrate, and you're in the
Yep.
prime of hunting season, so you want to make sure that happens.
Right.
That's
So.
We have some per se fresh birds coming in for us
Yeah.
to work with. So
Absolutely.
we're a bit weather dependent, and then we'll start moving, chasing them south from here.
Well, since we are in Wisconsin, I'm sure that your wish will come true sooner or
Yep.
later. We can't avoid the cold too much longer, so that'll be happening soon, I hope. But it was great talking with you both again. Once again, we've got Connie Markham and Sean Gibbons from Swiftwaters TV. Make sure to check out their program. It's airing right here on the CW. Thank you to both of you for
Thank you
coming
very
on.
much for
Yeah.
having
It
us.
was great talking with you. And thanks to the rest of our guests and to you for watching at home. We'll see you next time right here on Talk of the Town.